I was impressed with that move you pulled. Bang.
Ladies and boys and girls, children of all ages, it's me, it's G, it's DMC, the undefeated, undisputed YouTube champion. That's right, it's the Maverick, Mark Daniels, here with the Clash of Champions live review from December 17, 2017, live from Boston, Massachusetts. And we started things off on the pre-show. One thing I noted, David Otunga was back on the pre-show, so good for him. Glad to see him still employed by the WWE after everything that went down with him and J Hud, his ex-fiance. And we had our pre-show match, which pit Mojo Rawley versus Ryder. Now, I'm sure just about everybody, I would say 99% of anybody that watches wrestling, picked Mojo as a prediction for their victory. Speaking of which, I did not do a predictions video, nor did I do a Raw review or a SmackDown review this week. I'm just quickly going to address that real fast. For one, I forgot there was a pay-per-view this week until yesterday, and I'm like, I don't really have time to do predictions, so I'll just do the review if I want to do the review on the pay-per-view. And then Raw and SmackDown, I ended up having like 9 pages of each to talk about on my script, and once Wednesday rolled around, because I didn't have time to do it Monday or Tuesday, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to skip it this week. They weren't that eventful anyways, and I'll worry about it another time. So here we are, Clash of Champions review. Mojo came out with some new music, still wearing his regular tights, his Hype Bros tights that he was wearing previously, bright yellow. They were very heelish looking gear. They start with Ryder just drop kicking Mojo Rawley, very angry about what happened to him, which was great. And for overall, I thought this match was pretty okay. I thought it was an okay match. Zack starts with clotheslining Mojo, goes over to the outside with him. Mojo hits Ryder with a spine buster. He runs and shoulder blocks Ryder to a barricade. We cut to an ad. And of course, after an ad break or commercial break, what do we get when we come back from that? Always, I want you guys to pay attention to when they go to commercial breaks on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and see what they're doing. It usually goes into like a dive, like a high spot, like a crash and burn type spot, and then they cut to commercial, and they come back and they always have them in a chin lock, or they have them in a rest hold until commercial's over. And this is no different. We come back, Mojo's got Ryder in a rest hold. Ryder gets out of it with a jawbreaker, runs it to a big boot. Mojo starts trash talking Ryder for a while, starts pie facing him while he's trying to get up off the mat. Ryder hits a couple forearms. Mojo grabs him by the throat. Ryder slaps him in the face, starts to fire up a little bit, starts to hit some clotheslines and stuff, tries to fire up a little bit. Ryder hits a broski boot into the turnbuckle corner, hits another one through the ropes, gets a 2 count, and then Mojo got his foot on the rope, but it's still a 2 count. Mojo hits a running forearm into the corner for the win, and that was the end of the match. And I guess this was an okay match. I ended up giving it a 2.5 stars out of 5 stars. Just an average match. My scale might be a little bit different than other people's, but 2.5 for me is a very average match. Anything below that, obviously below average. Everything above that, below average to good to great, etc. But I thought this was a pretty solid pre-show match. I'm actually digging Mojo. I've been kind of getting behind Mojo a little bit. He's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. And I saw he did a really good promo on Twitter. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go try to search it out. And he was just cutting a good promo on Ryder, and it was really good. I would like for them to give Mojo some more airtime and let him be a little bit more himself instead of so scripted. I think we could get a good heel out of Mojo. He's not bad in the ring. He's not great. He's no AJ Styles, but he's very capable. Its finisher, I'm not big on it. I didn't like his new entrance music. I think that was just a placeholder. Similar to like when Baron Corbin got music, eventually they updated it with lyrics and stuff. I think we'll get an updated song for Mojo as well, and maybe an updated wardrobe for him as well. But I ended up giving that a 2.5. And then we move on to the main show. We start off with a triple threat U.S. title match. It was Bobby Roode versus Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. Bobby Roode is very over here, of course. The crowd was singing along to his entrance song. They cut Ziggler's music. They didn't do that last week. I noted, even though I didn't do a SmackDown review, but I did note that in my notes that Ziggler came out with the regular music. They may have messed it up. I don't know. A little bit of a botch from the production. Poor Ziggler. But not poor Ziggler tonight because he ended up winning the U.S. title, which was crazy. So during the match, this is kind of where the ending of the match kind of started taking place. Crowd Rude hits a wicked Uranage on Ziggler, and then runs into a crazy deep six by Corbin, which was crazy. I love the deep six by Corbin. It's an awesome looking move. Crowd starts chanting for Bobby Roode. Ziggler jumps up, tries to hit a superplex on Bobby. He launches up, goes for a superplex. Bobby catches him. This leads, of course, and you knew exactly where this was going to go. It was a triple threat match, and they were on the ropes, fighting each other. Baron power bombs Ziggler while suplexing Bobby. They love doing that spot during multi-man matches. Corbin gets a 2 count on both Ziggler and Bobby. He pins Ziggler, goes to Bobby. Both get 2 counts. Corbin runs into a turnbuckle post. Ziggler starts tuning up the band, trying to hit the sweet chin music. Goes for the super kick. Bobby sidesteps it, hits a spine buster. Does the glorious taunt, goes for a glorious DDT. Ziggler gets out of it, hits a DDT of his own for a near fall. Ziggler goes for another super kick. Bobby catches him and catapults him to the turnbuckle. Hits a glorious DDT. Corbin jumps in, tries to throw Bobby out. Bobby reverses it, throws Corbin out. And this is where you thought Bobby was going to win. Then you could just feel the crowd ready to erupt. Bobby pins Ziggler, and then Corbin pulls him out to break up the pin. Corbin hits a chokeslam, a backbreaker on the outside, and throws Bobby back into the ring. Corbin goes for the end of days and was in mid end of days motion when Ziggler hits a zigzag on Corbin and gets the win. Ziggler actually won the U.S. title. This is a fun match. It started off a little slow, but it started to pick up near the end, and I love that finish. I know they've done that spot before. I believe it was the triple threat match between Baron Corbin, Ziggler, and AJ, but it was still a fun spot, and Ziggler won. You guys already know I'm a big Ziggler supporter. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. I'm not giving up hope on the guy, even though so many have in the past. Um, I was very surprised by this win, though. I honestly thought Baron was going to win by pinning Ziggler. So this was our big shock, shock finish of the night. And I thought it was a pretty good match. I thought everyone held their own. Everyone looked good in this match. Maybe Ziggler winning, maybe to some, might devalue the U.S. title a little bit or devalue some of these other two guys that lost against him. But I don't think so. I think him winning the title's fine. He's probably going to be a transitional champion. Probably going to lose it to Bobby Roode at some point, and then you can continue the Baron Bobby feud later on down the line if you want to. But I thought this was a fun match. I rated it a 3.25. One of the better matches on the show, which might surprise some people. Some people may rate it a little lower. But I enjoyed the action in the match. A lot of great near falls, some good drama in the match, some good psychology. And with a shock victory from Ziggler, I had to rate it a little bit higher, of course, because I'm a big Ziggler fan. I popped pretty big for it. Then after that, we see Daniel Bryan down backstage claiming his referee T-shirt doesn't fit him, so asking the person to find him another one. Shane shows up and says, "Hey, you know what? Maybe don't worry about finding a T-shirt. I got this under control." And they you start to see some tension build between these two in this backstage segment. He says he doesn't know what's going through Daniel's head, and Daniel Bryan says simply he's trying to do what's best for SmackDown and what's best for the future of both Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Then Shane was like, okay, well, so am I going to be the referee in the ring, and then you're going to be the ref on the outside of the ring? Daniel says, nope, we're both going to be the referee in the ring. And then they kind of just stare each other down. This kind of set things up, and you guys, everybody knew what was going to happen. That there was going to be some sort of there's going to be some sort of conflict between both Daniel and Shane. And honestly, I thought this match was going to main event tonight. I'm glad it didn't, just because I think the WWE title should always main event the show, should always be the most important thing. But I was really surprised that it didn't main event the show. Then we saw Corbin backstage. I like this a lot. Dasha, I think it was Dasha. She goes up to try to interview him, and he's pissed. Like he just tries to shake her off, like he doesn't want to talk to her. And he says people are saying he's starting to squander. She says people are trying to squander. The people are saying that he is squandering his opportunities. First, the Money in the Bank cash in. Second, his U.S. title match here tonight. And he's pissed. He says no. Ziggler cheated. He shouldn't have even been in the match. He beat nobody, and he throws the trash can into a wall and walks off. This is good stuff. I think we're gonna see bigger things from Corbin. Now that AJ is done with Jinder Mahal, I would assume Corbin could start making his way up to that main event scene against AJ Styles, perhaps at the Rumble. Maybe we'll see. Because I mean, who's next? Who arguably could be next for him? I mean, I guess you could argue Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or both could be next in line for a WWE title match. You could say Randy Orton can make the case. You could say that Shinsuke, although I think you should say that for Mania. And we also have Fastlane as well. So we have a few pay-per-views in between now and Mania for SmackDown, where we can find out who could be contenders. And I think we can maybe see a Randy Orton versus AJ match. I think at the Rumble, that's a big match you could have. Maybe then start positioning Corbin into a position where he gets a title match, maybe at Fastlane. Maybe a multi-man match at Fastlane, maybe a Fatal 4-Way. Then you go to Mania with Shinsuke versus AJ Styles. That's what I would do. That's what I want to see. That's what I really want to see. And then we had the tag team title match. To me, the best match of the night yet again. The tag team division for SmackDown just killed. And I think, and I've said this before, I honestly think that the SmackDown tag team division is light years ahead of Monday Night Raw's tag team division. Because if you think about it, Raw doesn't really have that many tag teams, let alone over tag teams. And every team in this match really got to shine. Now, initially, Benjamin and Gable got zero reaction in this match, but they had some highlights in this match. They got the crowd rallying up a little bit, and you could tell that they started to win them over. Obviously, they're confirmed heels now. The Usos are confirmed baby faces. I thought that they were going to have a match and do a double turn. They never did that. They just kind of organically let them just become heels and baby faces, and I think that's fine. So before we start the match, we had Aiden introducing Rusev, which at first kind of got some boos. I was kind of upset about the initial reaction because I'm all for Rusev Day. I love Rusev Day. The whole thing is very entertaining. And Rusev comes out, then the crowd starts chanting Rusev Day, which I was really happy to hear. And you can see Rusev was just eating it up. Aiden sings 12 Days of Rusev Day. Crowd eats it up. He asks if they want an encore. Crowd starts saying yes. And right before he goes to do the encore, the 13th day of Christmas, Rusev gave to him. Benjamin and Gable's music hits, and then they interrupt him. And they got zero reaction at this point, as I mentioned. New Day comes out, they get a very solid reaction. They hand out pancakes to everybody. And then Usos come out and they do the 12 days, I call it the 12 days of lockdown, because they have the tag team division on lock. That was good stuff. Crowd ate it up. And as they're introducing everybody, you had Xavier Woods giving pancakes to the crowd. This is good stuff. Like, there's just a very entertaining show for these tag teams. So it was a fatal four-way style, which meant that all four teams started off in the match. You can only tag in your own tag team partner. So this is kind of a unique way. They normally have just two competitors starting out, and then you can tag anybody in. I kind of like this. It was very chaotic though, and at first it was kind of distracting. It was kind of hard to follow, but as things started picking up, it was a lot of fun to watch. Um, so we start off with we get a flurry of quick falls. Everyone's trying to pin each other with roll-ups, cradles, schoolboys, etc. People are just breaking them up. Then we see Kofi and Jey Uso do some dives to the outside, really getting the crowd pumped up for this match. Jimmy goes to jump off the turnbuckle. Shelton leaps up and catches him with the belly to belly off the turnbuckle. A spot that we've seen him do many times in the past, but it looked great, so many years later. Then we have the unicorn stampede on Shelton right after that. Kofi hits a bunch of drop kicks. He hits one on Jimmy, one on Benjamin, and then runs into a big kick by Rusev. Crowd at this point starts chanting for Rusev Day. Benjamin and Gable hits a double backdrop on Kofi for a 2 count. Kofi goes for the tag. Benjamin pulls down Big E on the outside. Then Kofi hits a sick double stomp on Aiden. I love his double stomp he does. Jay and Kofi both make tags. Jimmy and Big E come in and do a nice little hot tag. Do a lot of clotheslines, and you know how it goes. They do a double cover. They both try to get the pin for a 2 count. Referee counts for both, I guess. Then he didn't really specify who he's counting for. Then Big E and Jimmy kind of stare each other down, start talking and exchanging words, and they start coming to blows. After that, Usos have a super kick party, super kicking just about everybody except Benjamin and Gable, who catch the kicks, and Gable puts one of the Usos in a Texas Cloverleaf. Looked great. I like him using the Texas Cloverleaf. I think it's a good move for him. Aiden pulls out Shelton, hits a DDT on him. I don't know if he has a move for that yet, but I like his DDT. He's like a... I don't want to call it a sit. It's not really a sit out. Like, he kind of... It's hard to explain what it is, but if you watch the match, you know exactly what I'm talking about. His finish that he does. And then he gets a near fall on Gable. Rusev tags in, locks in the accolade on Gable, and he fights it for a while. Big E breaks it up, and the New Day goes for the Midnight Hour. Big E gets guillotined. Rusev rolls him up for a near fall, and then hits a matcha kick on Big E for a near fall. And the crowd was you could just tell they were ready for Rusev to win. Rusev locks an accolade on Big E. Big E tries to pick Rusev up, but then collapses. Again, crowd was just ready to have Rusev win here. But then Gable comes in from behind. Hits a deadlift German suplex on Rusev. Hits a rolling German suplex on both Aiden English and Big E. Looked amazing. He goes for one on one of the Usos. Then he gets hit with 2 super kicks and then an Uso splash for the win. Usos retain the titles. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I thought every team looked great in this match. Again, the tag team division, to me, the best division SmackDown has right now, the best thing going in SmackDown. I mean, if you look back to at least my predictions, or not my predictions, my review as well as most other people's reviews that I've heard, everyone's talking about, New Day versus Usos, this great match, and the tag team division has been on fire, and I love to see that. You can't, it's hard to beat a really good tag team match, and this was my favorite match of the night. I give it 4 stars. Initially, I had it at 4.25 stars, but I had to dial it back just a little bit because I started thinking about like early on the match, it was very chaotic. It was hard to follow, and at first I couldn't get myself into the match, but then they lured me in, so I had to just chop off a little bit. But I could see anyone making the argument this should have been rated a little bit higher. Absolutely, this was a very fun match. I liked the Fatal 4-Way style that they did in this match. It was very fun. Like I said, at first it was distracting. It was hard to focus on the competitors, but I thought it was great. The one thing I didn't like was during this match and throughout most of the night, it was very distracting. Was Byron Saxton and Corey Graves just constantly going at each other, more so than usual. It was kind of annoying. I'm not gonna lie to you. Eventually, I just kind of tuned it out, but it was very distracting. Excuse my itchy nose. It's allergies. Then we had Nattie versus Charlotte in a lumberjack women's title match. This match was okay. Honestly, it was below average. I thought that it was a very much a clusterfuck. It was very messy. There was some decent wrestling in the match, and there was some awesome stuff in the match, and we'll talk about that. So we start things off with Nattie trying to clothesline. She doesn't try to clothesline. She clotheslined Charlotte over the top rope, but they botched it. Um, Charlotte couldn't get over the rope in time, so Nattie kept trying to push her through the ropes. It looked kind of messy. Finally got her out there, and then of course the Lumberjacks, started beating her up. Throughout this entire match, Nattie was just throwing Charlotte out for the Lumberjacks to beat her up. The only babyface Lumberjack there was Naomi, who tried her best to save Charlotte in this match. Nattie goes for a dropkick on Charlotte. She arches out of the way. Charlotte does. Nattie slides out. Carmella doesn't do anything. She just gently throws her back in there. Obviously not punish her nearly as much they were probably punishing Charlotte in the match. Nattie goes for the sharpshooter. Charlotte smacks her, hits a big boot, and then goes for the figure eight. She gets, she goes for it, but gets thrown out of the ring. She lands right on top of Ruby. All the women attack Charlotte. Naomi dives onto them from the inside of the ring. She does like a springboard crossbody onto all of them. Let's see. Ruby grabs Charlotte's leg. It gets super kicked by Tamina while she was going into the back into the ring. Ref was distracted by Natalya. Nattie goes for the sharpshooter. Charlotte gets to the ropes. Lumberjacks pull Charlotte out of the ring. They start brawling. Carmella sneaks in, tries to cash in her briefcase. Ruby attacks her. Lumberjacks keep brawling. Charlotte throws Natalya on the outside and moonsaults onto everybody. Natalya eventually throws Charlotte back into the ring, tries to lock in another sharpshooter. Charlotte quickly slams her to the ground out of that sharpshooter position, gets her into the figure eight leg lock for the win. Again, it wasn't a bad match. It was below average. It was very messy. And I don't blame that on Charlotte or Nattie. I mean, it was just a weird situation. You had the Lumberjack. Lumberjack matches are always very chaotic. You're not looking for a very highly psychological match. So I gave it 2 stars, a little below average. It wasn't, a complete shit fest, but it was very messy. Afterwards, Nattie cuts a promo, says she's given the fans some of the best women's matches ever, and has carried the division for 10 years. Now, I do agree, she has given us some of the best matches in the women's division, especially in the last 10 years, especially during that Nasty Divas reign, where we had the Divas title, and it was a bunch of non-wrestlers, right? It was a bunch of non-wrestlers, a lot of models coming in that were pretty, like Kelly, but they couldn't wrestle with the shit. And she was easily the best woman in that division, best woman in that division by far. And then Beth Phoenix came up, so there was some good stuff with her, and she's had some good matches the last few years, and I liked her on SmackDown. Now she goes on to then say that the WWE Universe has treated her with nothing but disrespect, so as the women backstage. So the WWE Universe wants to turn their back on her. The women want to turn their back on her. Well, she's going to turn her back on all of them. She starts crying. So this is really weird. This seems like something someone would do when they're turning heel, but she's already a heel. I don't know if this is like a retirement speech. I don't know. But I guess we'll find out in the next coming weeks. I just thought it was very strange. Dasha tries to interview Jinder, but the Singh brother stops her and says that he's deep in meditation. And they tease that they won't be at ringside with Jinder. So they said that, Jinder, we don't even think Jinder needs us at ringside. And then Dasha says, so you guys aren't going to be there? He's like, well, you guys have to wait and find out. And of course, they were there. Then we had Breezango versus the Bludgeon Brothers. The match starts off with Luke just punching Breeze right in the face. Rowan goes after Fandango. Breeze ends up hitting an Enziguri on Rowan. Rowan goes for a power slam on Breezango on the outside. Dango saves him. Harper takes out Breeze from behind. Dango tries to hit a tornado DDT but gets caught. They had a double sit-out powerbomb and then a double crucifix powerbomb for the win. It was quick and easy. Gave it a 1 star. I mean, it wasn't really much of a match. It was a quick squash match, which is what you expected it to be. Then they cut a very cringy promo. And man, do I feel bad for Luke Harper. Luke Harper, to me, is one of the most underutilized guys on the roster. This guy is so good. He's got everything that WWE would want. He's got size. He's got the look. He can cut a promo. He can wrestle. Why isn't this guy a bigger star? It blows my mind. This guy is so good. He must have did something to piss someone off, and I don't know what it is. I would like to see this guy get a little bit more. They gave him one small run with the IC title belt, and it was a very weird way that they set that up. It was like Ziggler. It was after Ziggler was the sole survivor in that Survivor Series match that Sting debuted at, and I think they were like punishing Ziggler, and they like Harper won the title, the IC title, after they cheated. It was something weird, and it just didn't work. And he held the title for like a month, and they got rid of it, and it was such a forgettable reign. And I think the guy deserves so much more. But yeah, this was easily the worst match of the night. It was, like I said, it was just a quick squasher, nothing special. This is something that you can see on any episode of SmackDown. And I feel bad for Breezango. They're one of my favorite tag teams on the division. And they just get relegated to jobber status. Kind of sucks. Then we had the tag team match. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan were special guest referees. And of course, if Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens lose, they are fired from all of WWE. Not just from SmackDown, but from Raw, from NXT, etc., etc., etc. You knew that this match was going to be a clusterfuck. You knew it was going to be messy. You knew that there's going to be some sort of screwiness going on between Shane McMahon, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn, as well as what is Daniel Bryan going to do, right, to counteract that? That was the big question going into this match. Is Daniel Bryan going to turn heel? Is Randy Orton going to turn heel? Is Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan going to come to blows? What's going to happen? And we kind of seen that. We kind of seen the Duke go into blows. But let's talk about this match. So I thought overall this match was fine. I thought it was I liked some of the drama near the end of the match, right? Teasing between Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan. But the match itself, like for the first half, 3/4 of the match, was pretty boring. I couldn't get myself into the match. I was trying so hard to focus on this match, so I missed a lot of. I probably missed some spots, but I got what I could out of just watching it. But so that's why I ranked this match probably a little lower than I would have liked to rank this match. But we'll get to that. So we start with Sami pushing Orton to the corner. Shane counts a break and pulls Sami's in. He does this They do this spot a few times in this match, between Sami getting counted off the ropes, Kevin Owens getting counted off the ropes by Shane, and then the opposite happening where Daniel Bryan would count like Randy Orton off the ropes or Shinsuke off the ropes, which is what referees should be doing anyways. But anyways, as the match started, later in the match, we had Nakamura and Sami Zayn chain wrestling each other, and we had split Nakamura and Sami Zayn chances. This brought me back to one of my favorite matches of all time. This was Shinsuke Nakamura's debut against Sami Zayn in NXT. What a match. I want to see them have another really good match on a pay-per-view. Maybe at the Rumble. Maybe these two can have a match at the Rumble and just tear it up. I want Nakamura to win the Rumble, so maybe not. Maybe at Fastlane, we can have a really sick Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura match. Anyways, moving forward. They do some chain wrestling. Kevin gets tagged in and starts wailing on Nakamura on the counter. Again, Shane breaks it up. Shane and Daniel counts. Through this match, their counts are totally different when they go for a pinfall. If, say, Orton or Shinsuke is getting a pin, Shane is counting faster than Daniel Bryan is. And then when Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens get a pin, Shane is counting a lot slower than Daniel Bryan. Now, this match completely made Shane look like the asshole here. And I think that's the point, though. I think that's the point in this whole situation. And again, I'm surprised this wasn't the main event of the night. I really thought it would be. But when I found out it wasn't, I knew that there wasn't going to be like some weird heel turn or anything, because if it were, you would want that to be last on the card because you want that to be the talk of the night. Anyways, Sami goes to the top, Randy cuts him off, hits a superplex. Owens pulls Randy Orton out of the ring, throws him to the stairs. Shinsuke throws a bunch of strikes at Kevin Owens. Sami saves Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens does a frog splash to the announce table on Shinsuke from another announce table, which was a pretty sick spot. Orton hits Sami with a power slam and then hits a second rope DDT on Sami Zayn. Orton sets up for an RKO, and you can see Shane audibly getting excited. Randy Orton hits an RKO onto Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens knocks Daniel Bryan into Shane, and you can just tell Daniel Bryan was just looking distraught on his face that he just fucked up. Shane starts yelling at Daniel like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And Daniel says, "I'm sorry, it was a mistake. It was a mistake." Kevin tried to take advantage of that situation, got hit with an RKO. Sami hits a cradle on Randy. Then Randy reverses it. Daniel counts, and Sami has the pin. And then when Randy had the pin, Shane counted. Sami hits a schoolboy, and Shane counts too, but then keeps his hand raised up. And then, of course, him and Daniel Bryan start arguing with each other at that point again. Sami hits another schoolboy, and Daniel counts a super fast count because, in his mind, Sami Zayn should have won that previous roll-up, which is fair. That is fair. They could definitely make that argument. But Sami and Kevin win the match because of that. Again, I thought this match was boring for the most part near the beginning. But it started picking up at the end. I like the drama between Daniel Bryan and Shane. I'm interested to see where this goes. To me, this can't go anywhere else besides a Shane McMahon versus Daniel Bryan match at Mania, which I'd be excited to see, whether it's for Control of SmackDown or what. But there's obvious tension between the two, and it's got to come to a close at some point. But I give it a 2.75 out of 5 stars. Slightly above average because, again, I enjoyed the drama between the Shane and Daniel. It was very messy, a lot of chaos, but you expected that from this match. But I did enjoy the drama between the two. Then we had AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. This was the main event of the night. It was a great video package before this match started. I really enjoyed the package. Got me kind of hyped up for the match, to be honest with you. When Jinder came out, he got 0 reaction. You could hear a pin drop, which was sad for Jinder. I am a Jinder supporter. I wanted AJ to win. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Jinder should be WWE champion. But ever since, when Talking Smack was around, boy, do I miss the original Talking Smack, not this BS that they have now. But when Jinder came on there, talked about his kind of his return and how hard he's been working to get where he's at, to get his physique. I started getting behind him a little bit, but I thought his push was just too much too soon. Maybe he should have won the U.S. title first. And made his way up the ranks, and probably would have been a much better story. But I am a Jinder supporter. But he did get 0 reaction. There's no denying that. It was kind of sad to see. I want to see him. I would like to see Jinder work. I would like to see him to work. But I thought he had a good match here tonight with AJ Styles. And again, AJ Styles can have a good match with just about anybody. I think this was Jinder's probably his second best match I've seen him do. His first being the first title match he had with AJ Styles, where AJ won the title on SmackDown. But this is still a fun match. So they start the whole story of this match, and this was a good psychological match. People may not have enjoyed this match. It may have been a little bit of a slower paced match. But I thought the psychology was good because throughout the entire match, Jinder was working on AJ's ribs. And they continued that trend throughout the entire match. And AJ was working on, Jinder Mahal's leg, his knee. And that obviously played a factor in the finish, which I thought was great. So during the match, Jinder catches AJ, throws him to the ropes, rib first. That was the beginning of them working the ribs. Jinder throws AJ over the barricade to some metal chairs. He suplexes AJ onto the announce table. Jinder goes for a chop off the top. AJ counters with a drop kick. This is the first ounce of offense AJ really got in the match to kind of try to catch his breath. He goes for the phenomenal forearm. Jinder cuts him off. He lands right on the ribs on the ropes. Jinder hits a gut buster on AJ Styles. AJ then hits an electric chair drop on Jinder Mahal. AJ hits his combination of strikes, the backhand, hits the clothesline, and then he does a running forearm to Jinder Mahal. He hits a splash on a Jinder, goes for a Ushigoroshi neck breaker. There we go. My mic cut out there for a second. Sorry about that. But anyways, back to the match here. So AJ tries to go for a Ushigoroshi neck breaker. Jinder runs the ropes, and then AJ catches him with a snap. I call it a snap because he hit it really quickly. Ushigoroshi neck breaker. Jinder throws AJ Styles in the air. He lands right on his ribs. AJ hits a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count. Jinder hits a shell shock for a 2 count. Ryback's old finish, which was kind of interesting. There was some slight feed me more chance after that. Jinder goes for the Colossus. AJ gets out of it, hits a Pele kick. Jinder pushes AJ into the corner. AJ goes for a tornado DDT. Jinder throws him rib first and hits a big boot for a 2 count. Jinder tries to go pick up AJ for a Colossus off the top rope. He was trying to drag him up off the ground. AJ hits a Pele kick off the ground onto the top of the turnbuckle on Jinder, which always looks impressive. AJ hits a springboard 450, but he has to recover from his ribs being hurt. Singh brothers try to pull Jinder Mahal out of the ring. A little bit of tug of war with AJ. AJ jumps out, hits a forearm on one of the Singh brothers, and then hits a Styles Clash on the other. AJ goes for a phenomenal forearm. Jinder dodges, hits a knee to the back of AJ, hits a Coloss for a near fall. Now, one thing I thought that was interesting here. So he hits this Coloss, and it looked pretty nasty. And I didn't think for a second he was going to win, but the crowd's reaction was there was no reaction to it. He goes for the pin, 1, 2, and like 9/10. Like AJ barely gets his shoulder up. Crowd had no reaction, and they kind of just sat there for a while, and then eventually they started chanting for AJ Styles. It was just a little weird. It was just a little weird. Something I noticed. Jinder T's going for the Styles Clash. AJ reverses it to the Calf Crusher. Jinder almost gets to the rope. AJ rolls out into the middle of the ring. Jinder taps, and AJ wins the match. Um, this was a good psychological match. It was a little slow paced. I gave it 3 stars though. I thought it was above average. I thought it was better than a lot of the other matches on the card. In the middle of my favorite matches. Um, but the one thing I didn't like was the crowd was dead for most of the match. I thought it was a decent match though, but it was kind of slow. Um, like I said just a second ago, when he hit the Coloss and it was a near fall, crowd didn't even react to it, and that's not a good thing. And even when AJ won, the reaction to it wasn't that great. I just thought the crowd just died in this match, and that's not that's not AJ's fault. It just happens. The crowd just wasn't that interested in Jinder from the get go. He got no reaction when he came out. AJ of course got a really good reaction, but eventually the crowd was behind AJ Styles. They're chanted for him. He did win the match. Um, Overall, I gave the pay-per-view a 7.5 out of 10. A C-plus show. It was a decent show, but there really wasn't anything too special. I enjoyed the tag team match a lot. That was definitely my favorite match of the night. But other than that, everything was just a little above average or below. But let's talk about my matches from least favorite to favorite. There were 6 matches on the main card. I, of course, don't include the pre-show match on this card. But if I did, it would beat 2 of the other matches on the card, which kind of says something. Least favorite match of the night was Breezango versus the Bludgeon Brothers. Again, I rated that a 1 star. Fifth favorite match of the night, I guess you could say, or least favorite match, whatever you want to call it. Women's title match, I gave it 2 stars, followed by Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton and Shinsuke Nakamura, which was 2.75 stars. AJ versus Jinder at 3rd place with 3 stars. U.S. title match, 2nd place, second favorite match of the night with 3.25 stars. And of course, the tag team title match was my favorite match of the night, sitting at 4 stars. Again, it was a pretty decent show tonight. I wasn't super excited for the show. Again, like I said, I forgot the show was even happening until last night. When I read something and I was like, wait, that's this week? I thought it was next week. I really did. Which kind of says a lot, unfortunately. But I did enjoy the show overall. I had fun watching it. I had fun interacting with people on Facebook, talking about the show. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys thought of the show. Did you guys like the show? Do you guys agree with my ratings? Do you guys think I rated a little too high, maybe a little too low on some of these matches? What did you guys think of AJ versus Jinder? Was this a good showing for Jinder Mahal? I thought it was. I thought he had a good match with AJ. It was a good psychological match. Of course, Jinder maybe a little too slow paced in this match, but maybe that was done by design. It just didn't work with the crowd. What do you guys think of the Shane McMahon Daniel Bryan thing? You guys think it's gonna lead to a match at Mania? Do you think it's gonna lead to a Team Shane versus Team Daniel? Like, it's gotta go somewhere, right? What do you guys think of that? I thought the match was messy, but it was fun. I enjoyed the drama in the match. What do you guys think of the tag team division? I think the tag team division's on fire. I think that the Bludgeoning Brothers might be the ones to take the titles off the Usos. They just got done being 3 other teams. I think you could have the Bludgeon Brothers come and beat them, win the titles, have a dominant reign for a little while, and then eventually lose and drop the titles to either a new team coming up from NXT or maybe to Rusev Day. If Rusev Day sticks as a team, which I hope they do, because they're fun. It's a fun team. Although I'd rather see Rusev on his own, because Rusev definitely deserves an opportunity. But I'll take some Rusev on TV versus no Rusev on TV any day. So, but anyways, guys, that has been my Clash of Champions review. And until next time, guys, I am the Maverick Mark Daniels, bidding you a farewell, peace, and one love. Bang!